All right, good morning, everybody. Joe Van Doren here, and welcome to our Virtues Pick for today. I'm very happy to be able to share this with you, and because it's one that we hear a lot of, and yet it seems to be a little bit difficult for sometimes for us to practice this, especially inside our family. And so let's look at this word. And the virtue that came up today was empathy. So let's read this description here if we can, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Empathy is the ability to put ourselves in another's place and to understand their experience. We are deeply present to their thoughts and feelings with such compassionate accuracy that they can hear their own thoughts more clearly. Empathy connects us with our common humanity. It protects us from prejudice, blame, and judgment, those things that divide us from each other. With empathy, we reflect on how our actions affect others. It moves us to seek justice for every person, even those with whom we disagree. Empathy inspires us to be giving and selfless. Empathy connects our hearts. Well, what a great word, and certainly, a virtue that we all want to display. And we like for it when people have empathy for us. And I think we have to emphasize that empathy is not sympathy, but it is really just our being able to be objectively looking at another person's situation, and maybe a little bit like what we said, we were talking about yesterday, about being able to say, I wonder how that person is suffering, right? And so instead of just asking that question out, it's just being present for them, because when we're present with someone and willing to listen, I guess, and to just be there for them without any judgment, without any prejudice, without any trying to figure out what's wrong with them. you know my goodness, it just helps that other person to be able to see things more clearly, and to many times solve whatever the issue is that they're coming up with. So I want to share something with you. I'm going to pull it out here because I think it's just one of those things that helps us to understand this a little bit better. And that is, the Virtues Project that we talk about often, and we use the concepts of in our 4 C's of successful families to a large degree, and that we encourage parents and teachers and all of us to really get thinking about our virtues, has 5 strategies that help us to practice the virtues at our very best. And the 5th strategy is about offering companionship. And sometimes it's called the art of spiritual companioning. Sometimes it's called just the art of companioning. And so what it is, in fact, is a communication skill. It's a skill that helps us to um, to use this virtue of empathy at a very high level. And so when I say that, how does it work? Well, it has 7 different steps. And I'm just going to tell you what the steps are, and then maybe we can, if you're interested in more in that, you can just send me a question, or we'll talk about it more in future programs. And I'm really hoping to get this section up in classes for parents on the virtues and the 5 strategies and how they're used. But the first part is just opening the door. It's having open-ended questions that aren't blaming or shaming. That's just asking the person to uh, what's happening. What is it that's going on for you right now? And then the second step is being completely silent. Just listening. And I don't mean completely silent, but certainly not breaking in and offering suggestions or trying to solve the problem, but simply receptive listening. Um, Being able to listen and to nod our head, to make the eye contact, and being able to do so with detachment, so that we're not taking on their emotions for ourselves. The third step is asking those questions to help them find the rest of the story. Because as you know, when someone is working on trying to tell us something, a lot of times it's very difficult for them to come up with the whole story the first time, as they're, especially kids, they're testing us to see how we're going to react and what we're going to say. And so we ask what and how questions that help us to do that. And then we're going to focus on the cues that they give us. And some of them are going to be sensory cues, like the way they hold their arms, the tears that might come, the words that they use. And we have, some ways of communicating and using these sensory cues that help us to focus and actually help the other person to focus more clearly on whatever it is that they're trying to look at. And then we're going to ask them some virtue reflection questions. And you've heard me use this in our lives sometimes. And it would be just things like, what would give you the courage to do this, or what would give you peace about this, or how could you use kindness in this situation to help. So there's a lot of questions that we can ask using the virtues, which is calling on the person to look inside themselves and see what it is that they need at that particular time. And then the sixth and seventh step is really about closure and integrating with integration questions, where we might just ask them, what's clearer for you now, so that they can really focus it more clearly, or what was helpful about talking about this. And then finally, give them a virtues acknowledgement. I appreciate your openness to explore this subject. I appreciate your honesty and that you showed. I see the loyalty that you're showing. I appreciate the kindness that you have shown, and giving the behavior that showed it. All of those seven steps are just beautiful ways of us demonstrating our willingness to detach our emotions from the situation, and to simply put ourselves in the other person's experience and place, and and inspire them to and ourselves to be more giving and more selfless. That's what empathy is all about. How do we teach it to our kids? Well, I would say first off, we have to be empathetic with our kids. We have to put ourselves in their position, right? Who are they as a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old? They're not developed as much as you and I are, or hopefully we are anyway. And so, there's a lot for them to experience and to learn how to do that. And so, that's where that social emotional learning comes in, and we can help them with that by using the words and giving examples and demonstrating the behavior, and defining and clarifying the behavior that demonstrates each of the virtues, and then be willing to accept that they have the answers inside of them. And I think that might be the hardest thing, because as a parent, we're always, at least I was, I don't know about you, but at least I was, I always thought that I knew better than they did. But honestly, our kids know an awful lot about themselves, and they know how they feel. And so, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Of guiding, correcting, acknowledging, and demonstrating our love and our willingness to be there for them. So, and then of course, we can help them take that virtue outside of themselves and use it with others by just, demonstrating it, helping them to see how they can do that, what the steps are, and it will really help them to connect to other people and be that beautiful person that they already are inside. So, wow, we covered a lot of material there. And if you want more information about the 5 strategies of the Virtues Project, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to spend some time on that. And I look forward to doing that again and having that up in our classes for parents. All right, everybody, thank you very much for being here. It's Friday, so Saturday and Sunday we'll have our virtues posted on Facebook. There will not be a live, of course, on the weekend, but we do Saturday and Sunday we post a virtue on Facebook. So until next time, keep practicing the virtues. and the 4 C's of successful families, and that is clarity, communication, consistency, and community. Until next time.